Late yesterday at the Southern Kentucky Lincoln Day dinner, Rand Paul said that he wouldn't vote to give extra constitutional powers to the president. I can't vote to give the president the power to spend money that hasn't been appropriated by Congress. We may want more money for border security, but Congress didn't authorize it. If we take away those checks and balances, it's disgusting. It's a dangerous thing. So that was basically him confirming he's not going to support the ongoing attempt at a national emergency declaration that Trump has in place. And he's become, I think, the fourth Republican senator to announce their opposition to this particular policy. The others, as I recall, are Collins, and I know the one from North Carolina, Thom Tillis. So besides those two, there's another one, I believe. But his was probably the second non-surprising one because Collins does have a record of kind of sometime being with Trump and sometimes not being with him. But Rand is all the way, just opposition within his own party. He's had, let's see, he was the only Republican to not vote for Barr for Attorney General. He was, I believe, one of few that voted against repealing Obamacare. I'm pretty sure he was. There was some. He's opposed Trump on all the different wars that we've been left in since Obama left office. So Afghanistan, Syria. Of course, when he wanted to pull out of Syria, Rand was right there on the side because that's who he is. He's a non-interventionalist who believes in congressional powers. Um, so, this vote was really in keeping with that ideology. And you can already expect that ever since he refused to back this declaration, he's been getting some flack from Trump supporters who kind of, I guess, seem to think that Congress doesn't, you only can use it when you think they're going to pass something you want. Um, I mean, sometimes I watch them and I'm amazed by really the contradictions that you'll find with some of these people, because if a Democrat does it, it's a bad thing. Which to pretend Congress doesn't exist and try to do your own little project or idea, that is bad under any circumstance. But to then be okay with having a Republican just go and smash up and tear up everything to suit their own agenda is also terrible. But they've been on Twitter crying, they've been on Instagram crying, they've been on Facebook crying, every social media website telling you that Rand's a rhino, that he is not a true Republican. Like, well, hell, if you guys don't believe your own Congress, your own representatives should be the elected officials should be the people who determine what exactly you do with laws and legislation, then how the hell do you call yourself a true American? Dirk, this story is crazy. You have Rand come out and say, I'm not going to vote for the national emergency declaration because he's pro Congress doing things, right? Which is consistent with him being against the wars that weren't authorized by Congress. And now all these Republicans are acting like it's okay to have morals and integrity, but not when it's inconvenient to us. So they realize, oh crap, uh, we didn't win the House back, or we didn't keep the House. Now we're never going to get our wall, or the only way we can get it is if we wait another year to try again and actually run candidates that people want to vote for. And they're pissed off that they can't find their way to squeeze out of the consequences of the election that they failed to win, basically. Yeah, with a common sense stand, and they're losing their minds over it. They can't believe it. They're so disgusted. How how could he? He's a rhino, which is Republican in name only. It's like, well, you guys are Americans in name only. You think that the president is the emperor and should be able to do whatever he wants without having to get anything passed through Congress. For example, for as bad as I think, well, rather for I've said it before. I only like Obamacare because it's better than not having any major health insurance program whatsoever. The one thing that's respectable about that law is that it was able to pass Congress. Um, Trump's healthcare program failed. So then he had to do, like sneak little mandates in there. I think one of the provisions of the tax cut, the tax bill, was getting rid of the individual mandate for the ACA. So that was, his little sneak way of getting past doing what should have been done, or sneaking it into something else. But you get the point that whenever it's convenient for them, they don't have a problem. But when it's inconvenient, now here comes the issue. You have to ask yourself, if the wall was such a major national emergency, why the hell didn't Trump try to get it passed in his first 2 years? I heard a lot of rhetoric. I heard we need to have this, we need to do this, but I never saw him get those Republican senators or members of the House into his office and go, "Hey, look, pricks, I'm more popular than any of you. And if you guys want to get reelected, you better go and get my wall via a bill and then have it passed through both chambers." He didn't do that. He got a tax cut and then 2 Supreme Court justices in the Senate, and that was it. And I realized, because people didn't seem to get when I made this comparison, Trump's first 2 years are very identical to Obama's first 2 years in terms of the layout of Congress and also how things are getting passed. So, for example, I guarantee you can't think of one major law Obama had in his first 2 years other than the ACA. There was Dodd-Frank, but that was kind of, I'd compare Dodd-Frank to the First Step Act, which Trump passed, the criminal justice reform, where it's really a milk toast law that leaves a lot of stuff to be desired. It's kind of like this thing of, oh yeah, we have unity on this one topic, but it doesn't address the overall problem. So you get one milk toast law, you get one major law, which is the tax cut, the GM bailout. I'll have to look it up, or maybe you can look it up while I'm speaking. I don't want to be distracted, Dirk. But you get the tax cut, which is Trump's major law, and you get Obamacare, which is Obama's major law, and then you get 2 Supreme Court justices. So for Obama, you had Sotomayor and Kagan, then you had Gorsuch and Kavanaugh for Trump. They're identical in that format, and also they're able to pass that one major law because their party controls both chambers, and then after their first 2 years, they lose the House, and now they're stuck with a divided government. That likely, because I'm not stupid enough to think that Trump has no way of getting reelected, or that he's not going to, and I can wholeheartedly determine that right now. I sincerely believe that if he stays in office, the Democrats will get the Senate back, and then literally no laws will get passed. It'll be that wall is just going to be a talking point for the next maybe 6 years, and the closest you'll be able to get to actually seeing it be done without violating the Constitution, like with this national emergency, is when some other Republican comes around and goes, I supported President Trump's wall. That's why we need it. And then they'll be able to derive themselves off of that, pull the popularity that that policy had with his base and then push it toward themselves. Oh, so if it passed in 2008, that was under Bush. What is it? Was that the year it passed, Dirk? I'm not sure. Also, I apologize for the little Discord notifications. They're really loud. Let me turn this off. There you go. So now we can have peace and prosperity, and then you get them on another device. But look, going back to what I was saying, the whole debacle with Rand really should show you how no one cares. I swear, this computer should show you how no one actually cares to look up laws and the consistency of people when it comes to supporting votes or anything. Because I think I said before, Rand has the lowest number of record of voting with Trump out of any Republican senator. At least he had that until the new ones got sworn in. I think it was it's the one, the Missouri one, Sidney Hyde Smith. No, Mississippi rather. She was the one who had a 100% voting record with Trump. Everybody else has like the 90s or the 80s, but he was the lowest one. He had 70 plus. It was like 77, 76. And, this is evident in his votes, as I went over a couple of them earlier, but they never lost their minds over that. While he was opposing all the different wars. Hell, I even heard that he made a deal with Trump to get out of Afghanistan in exchange for his vote on something. But my point is, he was known for bucking his party, being against them in a lot of different instances. And only when it's these really national covered stories, right? Like Kavanaugh, for example, they all went after Murkowski. So Lisa Murkowski, the one from Alaska, for being the sole Republican who didn't back Kavanaugh. But because Rand voted for that, they go, "Oh, that's okay, that's all right." And then the Barr thing gets a little bit of coverage, but not that much. So he can vote. He gets away with voting against Barr because none of the Trump supporters that are losing their minds on Twitter and these other places happen to really care about that nomination because it's not being covered and talked about by either Trump or the media. So then when this emergency happens, which is only being highlighted because Trump has been able to, he's really, one of the things I'll give him credit for is he's turned immigration into this almost, I mean, I can't even turn the TV on to Fox without just having that paraded in my eardrum all day. You would think there's no other topics. We're bombing 7 countries and you don't hear a word about it, but you will always hear about the evil, the hells of America at the border, nothing else. So this topic, thanks to him, has been given a lot of coverage, for better or for worse. And I think it is for worse because it's destroyed. It's one of those things where when you give something so much interest, everything else around it kind of gets sucked into a vacuum. And I think Dirk knows what I'm talking about. Like how we did this stream, I think it was a couple of weeks ago or last month, where I mentioned how they cover AOC so much, Ocasio-Cortez so much, that you would think you don't even have a congressman anymore. Because, remember, there's over 400 members of the House and 100 senators, and you never hear about any of them as much as you hear about AOC. I mean, sometimes I look at my news feed, I'm just like, oh, can I hear about somebody else in the House besides her and maybe Pelosi? And that's about it. And Hoyer. It's the same thing where you give something so much attention and it's supposed to mean that, we're going to know what this thing is because it's always in our face, but then it takes up everything around it. So all of it's canceled out. No, but reading some of their comments on there was really funny. Let me see if I can find a couple of them to give you an example of. And this, again, it's to highlight the fact that we're literally surrounded by individuals who have the internet, who can go on these different websites like Senate.gov that will tell them what exact ways Rand has voted before, and they act like this is some major bombshell. Like they can't believe he would do this. So let's go on here and look. Also, I'd like to say excuse me. I know that probably hurt one of your ears. Dirk says nobody knows or cares about anyone else. It's like the news just discovered what Congress is, but focus on one person. Yeah, and then out of the senators, the only 5 I ever hear about are McConnell, Schumer, Bernie, Warren, obviously Harris. They turned her. Second she announced, she just consumed everything. This person says it's not the time for Rand to find religion when we're at a war for our survival. This other person says that Rand probably doesn't have the skills to be a senator. And they're just now saying this after he's been a senator for almost, 10 years now? He was elected in 2010, sworn in 2011, in 8 years. So after 8 years and all those different votes, because he doesn't want to vote to say, hey, screw Congress, let's just have the president be able to do whatever he wants with the money of the people. Now he's the villain. He's the bad guy who has no confidence whatsoever. When he voted for Kavanaugh, he had confidence. When he voted for Gorsuch, he had confidence. When he voted for pretty much any of Trump's cabinet nominations, he had confidence. But now that he's voting against this one highly publicized vote, that's it. No skills whatsoever. You had skills when you did what we want, but not when you show any kind of independent thought from the the bandwagon of the party. It's really sad because when you look at all of these different senators, especially the ones like Cruz or Rubio, the only reason they're even going along with everything Trump's doing up to this point is the same reason that people like Harris and Booker and the ilk decided to not call out, they call themselves being in favor of single payer, but they never call out Obama or the Democrats for not introducing that concept. They're just trying to go along with the tide so they can look like this really big supporter of that one person and then hope supporters of that person come and sprinkle down to them. Rubio and Cruz and all the rest of these Republicans don't care about the wall. They never did. They were opposed to, or rather, they did not come out in support of it when they were running against Trump for the nomination. And the reason for that is the same reason that you just now are seeing a bunch of Democrats trying to back single payer. It's them attempting to suck the nipple of whoever is in a higher position so they can one day attain that same position. So because Rand is, trying to not be, some aspirant that, blindly licks the behind of whoever is in charge, they're suddenly going after him. That's why when I was doing my video about Thomas Massie, I said, I expect with a lot of these Republicans for me to disagree with them on social issues, but when they do things that are either against the interest of their party that I think are good, whether that's something like this or being against a war, I'm going to give them credit for it because it's not an itty bitty thing. This vote isn't a minor thing. And the fact that they're taking all this heat from it, is a testament to how big it is. But the fact that these people were alive and well for the last 2 years while Rand repeatedly voted against Trump over and over again should show you how little they cared to actually look into this stuff up until now, and how much you have to wave a camera in front of some particular story or vote to get them to care. So it's pathetic on the side of the Republicans and their supporters. And it's not even just Republican supporters, because you do have some independents, but it's still that main group. It's kind of like when I was watching the I don't know if you remember the GoFundMe, Dirk, that the guy made for the wall, the guy that no one had ever heard of before, and I said it's probably a scam. And then he took the 20 million that he made, after not even getting half of the 1 billion that he wanted, and said, "Oh, we will be using this to make our own group with me and Tickle Me Voter Fraud, Chris Kobeck." Yeah, but I'm saying that was like, I already told you, I think, about the actual wall, but that GoFundMe was organized by a guy no one had ever seen before, no one had ever heard of. And I said it was a scam. And I said, "Oh, I'm probably going to be written off because I'm known to not favor that policy." And sure enough, after he gets the cash, he makes some new group in some attempt to try and downplay the, fact that he decided to just take your stuff and go. That's exactly what the wall is going to end up being. Trump had 2 years to pass it through Congress. He didn't do it. And from this point forward, I predict that if he gets a second term, you're going to have Democrats get both chambers, and it's not going to, it will have an even lesser chance of actually getting through Congress. Hell, the whole reason you even do a national emergency is when you're confident that nothing is going to pass through Congress. One of the reasons Rand is even doing this is because he knows that the Democrats can say, "Oh, look at what Trump did with the wall. He took an issue that he really, really felt seriously and strongly about, and he decided to say, screw Congress." So Rand is saying, hey, look, a Democrat could say, "Oh, what about climate change or school or whatever the hell," and then decide to do the same thing. Well, it's political football for no reason. Yeah, but you see why it's such a massive, big headache football, that they've taken this topic that was kind of whatever, and they've just made it consume everything around it. We're going to be hearing about this wall in speeches and everything else for the next maybe 10 or 15 years. And depending on if the changes in Congress continue to happen, which is it goes to one side for a little bit, another side for a little bit, we still may never get it. I'm not complaining, but you get my point. Healthcare, yeah, anything. And that's what Rand realizes. He says, well, damn, if, we're not always going to have the White House. If the Democrats get the White House and they do one of those social issues that I don't like, I won't be able to say they don't have the right to do that unless I'm a partisan hack like McConnell who can look you in the eye and tell you, I'm not going to do this. You shouldn't be able to do this one thing. And then a few years later go, well, I guess I could do that. If you remember the thing with Merrick Garland, in a presidential election year, you shouldn't be able to nominate a person for the Supreme Court if you're the president. And then they ask him, hey, would you put someone on the court uh, in 2020? Well, I'd be open to it. Like, so you have no integrity. You just admitted that you're a little, you don't really care about anything. You'll do whatever it takes to suit your own agenda. And that's pretty much the same thing here. These people, these conservatives that are crying on places like Twitter and all these other social media sites, they never cared about the Constitution. They never cared about the balance of powers or executive overreach. All it was to them was getting whatever they want when they want it, and not, doing anything that is calculating. Because see, here's the thing: if they were smart, they would say, okay, we're gonna see if we can win those seats in the House back, because the House is up for reelection every 2 years, just like the Senate. And they would try to get some of those back and then get around to doing this. But because they're lazy, which is why a majority of them didn't donate to that scammer GoFundMe, because most of them who donate to that thought it was real. So they, they're tight pocketed, so they won't. They'll talk a good game on these social media sites, but then when it actually comes time to be involved with the nooks and crannies of something, they disappear, like Jimmy Hoffa. It's the same thing here, where they're going to talk a good game about, oh, I'm so disgusted by Rand, blah 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 blah, and then they'll forget about it. Or if they do remember, so what? They're not. They're going to donate maybe to some Republican. A couple of them, an itty bitty group of them, will donate to another person and run against them, and then that person will get smashed because a majority of the voters in Rand state are going to stick by him, and if they were disappointed, they're going to forget, and we'll be stuck in the exact same scenario. But it's not going to be because he was some wholesome, wonderful, attractive candidate. It's going to be because these people who go on these social media websites and try to tell you about how much they hate a person, they can't stand them, are the same ones spewing some contradictory crap. Look at the people who say dump Trump and then they put up never Bernie right after. Okay, well then you're not serious about that if you're going to tell me there are people that are running from the opposing party, which is the only nomination that gives you a realistic chance of winning. And then if it's them, you're going to, not back whoever it is. Because remember, they're on. I've noticed this before. True anger toward Trump is just backing whoever the hell just because it's not him. I've said that there's only 3 people. I'm going to go with 4 now because another one I've kind of lightened up a little bit on, that if they were the Democratic nominee, I would vote for. And that's because I don't believe that if you automatically get rid of Trump, everything magically becomes better and it's all sunshine and rainbows. Because again, I was here before he got in office. So again, you're thinking of the long run and also what's happened before. This is the same mindset that Rand has. He's not thinking about the crybabies that are whining right now about him deciding to value the Constitution. He's thinking if he supports the wall, which I don't think he actually does, but if he supported it, he would think it's going to make more sense for us to wait until this year that comes up and campaign and try to get those seats back than say screw Congress, time to do whatever I want because I'm upset I didn't win the election. It's just really funny. They don't get it. They keep pretending they don't understand. But like I said, his detractors are mostly just people writing dumb things online. If any of them were serious about any of this stuff, they would do something themselves other than talk a good game. But most people don't have the willingness to try and put themselves out there. So it was funny to watch them have their meltdown. Oh my God, Rand's a rhino, blah. And then show that they don't even follow this stuff enough to know all the times he's bucked his party in the past. So if Dirk has anything else to say, we'll keep going. If he doesn't, I can end it here. But it's nice to Be reminded of the opposition being so dumb. Because whether you agree with following this stuff day after day, there exist certain websites, again, like Senate.gov or other places, you can look at headlines, you can go on there and you can learn who voted for this, who voted for that, and they just won't do it. But then they'll become crybabies and, be so disgusted when they realize this person is being consistent with their ideology. They did the same thing to Amash in the House when he said he's not going to vote for the Declaration. How dare you have morals and uphold the Constitution, even if it doesn't befit our agenda? Blech. All just a bunch of crybabies. Hey, you saw the title, Dirk. Let the tears fly. Sprinkle all around to Kentucky, and still have no impact. It'd be funny if someone did a parody video where they make like little biopics of different political figures. Someone dresses themselves up to look like Rand, like has the same kind of hair and facial features or whatever, and they're in a car, whatever kind of car you can think of, and then you have someone who's wearing a MAGA shirt, and then they're you can see this article they're reading says ran to vote against National Declaration Emergency, and they start tearing down. It lands on the floor, and then Rand in his car, or the person that is supposed to be him in the scenario, drives over the puddle of their tears. Oh my god! Because it'll show you just how ineffective they are and how much they don't do anything. And again, when you say that, people like to, because they act like they don't know what you're talking about. Not being in office doesn't mean you're ineffective. When you do not donate to the campaign of someone that you want to run against them, you don't volunteer, you don't run yourself. These are all things that contribute to this. When all you do is sit on social media and go, "Oh my God, this person doesn't do what I want them to do," bleh, then you're not doing anything. So, thank you for attending, Dirk. Thank you to the other 3 people that were here. Well, the last one just came at the last 5 seconds. We'll do something else tomorrow. Have a good day, or good night, rather.